Hi guys, so you're with Mel, and this is the Mel podcast, and it's good to be back with you. And this episode, I'm going to jump straight in, is going to be called "The Secret Stops Here." Yeah, and beautiful people, you're locked in with me, Mel, on the Mel podcast, and I hope that you are well. So I'm here for real talk, real stories, and real healing, and I hope that everyone's doing well, whole, and is hydrated today because right now it is sunny. And I'm just going to be real with you. I have to say, I've got about four ulcers in my mouth. So if I'm sounding kind of different, that's why right now. It is sore, it's uncomfortable, and honestly, I didn't even feel like recording today. But you know what? Sometimes life doesn't always wait for us to feel to be ready. Sometimes we have to show up even when it hurts, and this is showing up even when it hurts. And that is called resilience and consistency, which I didn't have last year. So normally I would say I've got an ulcer. Oh my God, I can't do my podcast. I'm not doing it. But no, I've had so many people reach out to me to tell me how good my podcast is, that they're listening to it, and that I've got a natural ability to do it. So it has encouraged me, even with the ulcer, to keep on going. And that's why I'm here, to speak some truth about breaking the silence and to share about healing even through the pain. So, when I came up with this topic called The Secret Stops Here, about breaking the silence, this was about breaking cycles and healing lives. And today I want to delve into deep generational trauma and look into what generational trauma is, family secrets, and how those unspoken things can shape our identity and our relationships and our future. When we go through something and it's unspoken about or spoken about, it has had an effect on us. And for over 22 years, my family lived in silence. Abuse was hidden behind closed doors. But one day, my elder sister decided to press charges against my parents. And that for me was a changing moment. That was when the chains started to break. It didn't break fully, and it's been a lifelong process. But that was when the chains started to break and the secret came out. That what was locked in darkness was exposed to the light. And it does say that in the scriptures as well. And from there, healing could begin. And oh my gosh, healing that sometimes looks so ugly, so scary, so dangerous. But hear me, people, if you're listening to this, I just want you to know that healing isn't a one-time event. And if you're going through something and you're going through recovery right now, and you're going through a healing journey, healing isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey. Some people take quicker to heal than others. Sometimes a wound that's been emotional or spiritual or mental will take time to heal over a period of time. So the first layer may get healed 1 year, then 2 years later, you might thought something was healed, but then a wound is kind of open up, which you thought, hang on here, I thought I dealt with this. Where's this coming from? And that's because you're not fully healed in that area. So I'm going to take a moment to unpack some keywords I'm going to be talking about today. Yeah, I always like to know what my definitions are. And because I'm talking about child abuse, what is child abuse? Just in case you're a grown adult and you don't know that you've been through child abuse, we're going to talk about it. So, childhood abuse can take many forms: physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. If you're from the Caribbean like myself, you'd say, "Oh, I was nothing. I just went through a Caribbean beating." But hang on here. If you live in the United Kingdom or in different parts of the world, and I know that this podcast is being listened to in the UK, America, France, Morocco, Bangladesh, New Zealand, different places have different laws, but I'm just letting you know, if you had physical abuse as a child, which was hitting, beating, burning, or any physical harm, it's classed as childhood abuse because there's laws that govern the land. Emotional abuse is constant criticism, rejection, name calling, or manipulation. I don't know anyone that hasn't been through constant criticism or rejection, name calling, or manipulation by their family or their parents or cousins or in general. But we're talking about childhood abuse that happened within a caregiving environment. Sexual abuse now, any sexual act with a child, including exposure of inappropriate adult material. So many children grow up and say, "Oh, yeah, I saw porn when I was a child." Listen, that is sexual abuse. You should not have been exposed to that as a child. Just because you wasn't touched inappropriately doesn't mean you wasn't sexually assaulted or abused. If if you were exposed to adult material. And I know some adults that I've met on this journey, and they'll say I wasn't sexually abused like you, but I realized I was sexually abused after I've shared my story, because they now realize exposure to adult content or adult behavior was sexual abuse as a child. Any sexual act with a child, including exposure, touching, or forcing them to participate in sexual activities, is sexual abuse. And I just want you to know now, and for you to even tell children that you know, if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. Children need safety, love, and boundaries, not fear. Yes, if you was that child and knew something was going on with you, with granddad, with uncle, with dad, with brother, with cousin, with auntie, with grandma, whatever it was, whatever the connection was, childminder, childcare, or whatever, if something did not feel right, it probably wasn't right. Okay, listen to me. And if you're being triggered by anything that I'm speaking about today, please go and get help. Speak to someone. Even inbox me on my email that I'm going to leave at the end, which is the omelpodcast@gmail.com. Because a lot of the podcasts that I'm sharing on the topics often bring up triggers. One person contacted me and said, listening to you made me realize I was abused as a child by one of my family members. They had forgotten about it. They're older than me. They're in their 50s or 60s. So I know some of the things that I'm touching on very transparently is to help people. And the reason I'm like this is because I want people to be set free. When we break the silence and open our mouth and undo the zip and start to speak, it not just helps you to be set free, but it can set someone else's free. Secondly, have you gone through domestic violence? We may be touching on domestic violence. And what is domestic violence? This is when one person is in a relationship, uses control, fear, or violence to dominate another. It can be physical, emotional, financial, or sexual abuse, and it doesn't just affect couples. Children in that environment also suffer. So I went through domestic violence as a child and childhood abuse of every nature, unfortunately. But don't feel sorry for me, because I'm here. And if I'm complaining about an ulcer, then you know that I've got some resilience in me, because I went through all these other things. And I'm entitled to complain about the ulcer now, because my life has got so much better that the ulcer is the pain. But yeah, we're talking about that. And we're also going to be touching on the mental health struggles that you can go through. There's something called PTSD that you might hear being thrown around. It stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Ongoing anxiety, flashbacks, or fear caused by trauma. Some of you listening right now may have PTSD and don't know it. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Look it up. If you do, speak to your GP, general practitioner. The doctors have a duty of care to make sure you get the right treatment, and it's not always going to be medication. It might be talking therapies. Yeah, so the symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is ongoing anxiety, flashbacks or fear and confusion, and fear that was caused by a trauma. So I've had flashbacks, I've had ongoing anxiety, I've had fear that was caused by trauma as an adult. Yeah. Then there's something called complex PTSD. As if PTSD wasn't bad enough, then there's CPTSD. Jeez. How is it going to be by the time I'm 50, 60, 70, 80? Is it going to have TPCTSD and all these different letters in front of it? I don't know. But complex PTSD caused by long-term trauma, often in childhood. And it could be a variety and a mixture of traumas that brings complexity. So if you've gone through domestic violence, and if you've gone through childhood abuse, and then if you've gone through trafficking, and if you've gone through a bereavement, if one of your parents went to prison or died, you're going to have complexities of trauma. So this is caused by long-term trauma. I went through 22 years of abuse, and then after that it still continued. So I've had complex PTSD and I didn't even know it. And this is a mental health struggle. Some of our actions, behaviors, and reactions and our characteristics is down to what we've been through and some of these mental health struggles, and we don't know about it. Some of the other mental health struggles that you can go through is addiction. Addiction is a mental health struggle. Often addiction is used to numb pain or escape trauma. So if you're trying to numb a pain, escape a trauma, yeah, just realize that and know that this is going to keep you trapped in another kind of bondage. So in trying to soothe yourself, comfort yourself, you end up getting trapped. And I had addictions, many addictions, from food to class A's, B's, C's, drugs, substances, alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, speed, whiz, over-the-counter medication, ephedrine, which was banned in the United Kingdom, cocodamol because of the codeine, which is addictive, zopiclone, which is a sleep medication, which is addictive. I had many addictions. Unfortunately, alcohol from a young age. I didn't realize that the cocaine that I was experimenting with and thought it was going to be fun when I was going through my trafficking years, end up becoming a massive, long addiction for over 10 years. Yeah. But I just need you to also know, here's the tip: mental health support is a strength, not weakness. You can get help, and know that you deserve it. So, my tip for you: mental health support is a strength. I've had mental health support. I advise other people to go and get it. As much as we're leaders in a church or pastors, ministers, and we believe in faith, I also believe that mental health support is a strength. God, all wisdom comes from God, and it's good to go and get that help and support because you deserve peace. Yeah, one of my early on tips that I forgot to share is something. Oh no, I did share it. Something doesn't feel right, probably isn't right. Right, and what else? So I'm talking about intergenerational trauma. What is intergenerational trauma? Have a think for a moment. Intergenerational. It's in the title. Trauma. Okay. So when we're looking at certain things, we need to understand what we're talking about. When we throw some of these words up, we need to know what it means. Remember, trauma is an experience that you've gone through that is deeply distressing, a disturbing experience. It could be a physical injury, something that causes shock. It could be a life experience that has caused you that. But then you have intergenerational trauma. This is trauma that is passed down through families, not just in behaviors, but also in beliefs, fears, and survival habits. Unfortunately, we've all got a lot of intergenerational trauma characteristics. It's what happens when grandma never healed, great grandma never healed, granddad never healed, so great grandma never healed, grandma never healed, so mum never healed. So now this generation is not healing, and then a daughter that I may have might not heal. So we're carrying the pain that never got unpacked. My tip for you is, if you've had intergenerational trauma and that's been passed down through your family, the tip is that you may have inherited your trauma, but you also carry the power to end it. I've got the ability to end it. My daughter's got the ability to end it. My son has got the ability to end it. So have you, if you're listening. But just learning about what trauma is and intergenerational and identifying similarities through the different generations that now hit you can make you say, hang on here, I don't have to carry this. I'm not going to carry it. And I'm going to choose to make different choices that will affect me and break this cycle. And then the last thing I want to touch on before I carry on speaking is faith-based healing and worldly wisdom. I believe in God's healing 100%, but I also believe in using what's around us. God gave all wisdom to people. Some people use yoga, meditation, all sorts. Some things have been taken out of context and it has been put into the wrong hands with the wrong source and the wrong spirit, and may take you down a dark path because of taking God's ways and trying to put it into New Age worship, New Age traditions that could open you spiritually to all sorts of attacks, spiritually, mentally, demonically. And I believe in God's healing, as I said, 100%, but I also believe in using what is around us: therapy, support groups. What other things are around you? Social services, early intervention services, Alcohol Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Phone Frank. There's different apps. Yeah, healing is both spiritual and practical. So you need to look at yourself if you're listening to this or if it's for somebody else. What do I need healing from? Yes, I might be full of faith. I'm speaking from a faith perspective because I'm a woman of God that believes in God, the Holy Scriptures, Yeshua, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, that when we all pray, we can lay hands and be healed. Some people might say, oh, well, I do Reiki. It's the same thing. Whatever you've been practicing and doing and serving God Almighty through Yeshua, Jesus Christ, if it has helped you, it's helped you. And make sure that you're looking at every area of you. Yeah, so you go to therapy, you talk to someone you trust, you pray, you journal, you set boundaries, you forgive, not for them, but for your own freedom. My biggest healing came when I had to forgive my mom. And if she's listening to this, hi, mom, because you're somewhere across the world. And from time to time, I'm sure my podcast may travel. and it will get to the airways and the byways, and it'll come to the very person that has actually even caused me harm. But I know that my biggest forgiveness came when I forgave my mom. I wasn't expecting an apology. I wasn't expecting her to take ownership for what she did, because my truth is the truth. What was done to me was done to me. God is a witness, and all the angels around and the people as well. But I did it for myself. I wanted my freedom, and I didn't know how much I wanted it until I didn't know there was freedom in that act. When God told me to forgive, I was like, huh? Forgive? What? What? And I don't even know if I shared the story that the people that hurt me, which were my parents, I actually sent some heavy men once upon a time to their house. And the people that I was hanging around with in Nottingham were very heavy. And I don't mean heavy in heavyweight as in weight, like kgs, but heavyweight in being gangsters, heavyweight in the dark side, heavyweight in handling things on the opposite side of the law. And they did say, we kidnap people, we take them to woods, we get them to dig their own grave, we tie them to a tree, we torture them, we torment them. And I was like, wow, okay. It doesn't compare to what I've been through for 22 years, but it might be a little something considering what I've been through. Tying someone to a tree, making them dig their own grave and putting them in it alive and breathing, to me was like tickling their feet compared to the amount of pain and trauma that I had been through for 22 years. So when my so-called friends back then offered this opportunity, I said, yeah, go for it. Thank you. Someone wants to intervene on my behalf. Wow. But unfortunately, there was an encounter when they went to the house, and my little sisters had opened the door. They were so much younger than me. And it took a while for my sisters, years for my sisters to forgive me and realize I was a woman of God because of this very act. If my sisters are listening, the younger ones, they'll probably remember when they brought it to me. And I was like, how can we believe that you've become, that you're a woman of God now? Because you sent these men to the house and could have harmed us to harm mom and dad. But yeah, that's where I was, people that are listening, beautiful people. And I'm just sharing this because some people don't share and break the silence of everything that took place. You might see the minister of the gospel, the woman of God, the preacher, the life coach, the discipler, the behavioral mentor at schools, the public speaker in assemblies and at workshops, facilitator, the nurse, the adult nurse. You might see me in all these different places, but you don't see what took place in the past. And I'm breaking the silence by opening up and sharing what it looked like. And yes, I did send these men to do this because I wanted them to tickle my parents' feet, which was to tie them up by the tree, around a tree, torture them, get them to dig their own grave and put them in there. However, it didn't happen, thank God now, praise the Lord, because I would have a lot of repenting to do and a lot of seeking for forgiveness for myself. However, at the time, it seemed like the right decision, but it didn't go down how I expected it, or how the men expected it, because my sisters answered the door. And for me, looking back now, everything happens for a reason. And there was intervention by those little people opening the door, because it had to be called off. I got asked, what do you want to do? Tanya, what do you want to do? Because Tanya was my name back then, my street name. Tanya, what do you want to do? I was like, okay, just leave it. I don't want them to get hurt. And I was like, damn, man, they spoiled my plan. But no, God had a bigger plan. He didn't want that. He wanted me to operate in forgiveness. And he wanted me to be free in a different, unique way, not how the world says it. The world is bitter. The world likes to react. The world likes to hold grudges. The world is carnal. The world will say, don't forgive, they hurt me, I'm never going to talk to them again. And in the end, you end up getting sick. You end up having sickness and disease in your body, viruses, constant illness, fibromyalgia, pain all around your body. Why? Because you've locked up this unforgiveness within you, this bitterness. So by speaking and releasing yourself and forgiving and actually having good intentions and a kind heart to others, even those have hurt you, you free yourself. You free your body. You free your whole entire being. Yeah, and it is a therapy to forgive. Believe me, it is a therapy. I did need a lot of therapy. I did need to go and see a psychologist and a psychotherapist and have talking therapy, and I may continue to have it along life and less frequently, because I trust what God says to get done. And if you have to look after mind, the mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health, each one of those parts of your life needs to be looked after in a certain area. I go to the gym for my physical health. I might go walking. I might get out the boxing gloves and the heavy bag. I may sing for my spiritual side, for my mental health, for my emotions. I may sing gospel songs. I may sing old school songs. I may dance to my reggae music. I may dance to my carnival music. All of it is therapy and soothing to a certain part of me that needs healing. I don't do anything for no reason, by the way. If I'm eating healthy, it could be because of my whole entire being needs to be regulated. So I'm just sharing these little tips as well. God gives us tools and people to help us heal. Hopefully, this podcast is one of the tools to help you. Please use them and share it with somebody else. Okay, Why does breaking the silence matter to me? I'm not sharing this for sympathy, please. Yeah, I'm sharing this because someone out there needs to know that they're not alone. You who are listening to this, dear friend, dear sis, dear brother, dear child, dear mother, dear auntie, dear uncle, dear grandma, you who's listening to this need to know that you may be carrying pain that wasn't your fault, shame that was never yours to hold, but today can be the day that you begin to release it. As I keep saying, the secret stops here. The silence ends with us. The healing starts with truth. The secret stops here. The silence ends with us, and the healing starts with truth. And I don't just believe it, I preach it, I teach it, and I help others walk through it if I can. I'm someone of transparency. Some people say to me, "Oh, Sister Mel, I can't do that yet. I believe God's telling me this, God's telling me that." Sometimes we think God's telling us something because it's what society says is the norm. But you have to sit down and think. I'll give you an example. You might not know the Bible scriptures or the stories of the Bible. There was a prophet called Jeremiah in the Old Testament, and it's in the book of Jeremiah. Whether you believe in God or not, just and whether you read fiction books or not, pick up the book and just read it and look at the story I'm telling you. Jeremiah was a prophet who spoke what the things that God was showing to him. And there was another prophet called Hananiah at the time. Because the people of God, the Hebrew people, was put into exile under a wicked ruler, Jeremiah was preaching at that time and prophesying what God was saying. And Jeremiah understood that God had put his people into exile by the wicked rulers as a punishment for being disobedient to him over all these times. Read the scriptures. So then he would say, God says to stay under this wicked ruler. God says to be here, build homes, that your sons marry, find wives for your sons, find husbands for your daughters. Go and read Jeremiah. Yeah, there's famous scriptures in there that people always use, but do you understand the story? Jeremiah was saying something, and Jeremiah was saying what the people didn't want to really hear because it wasn't the norm. Then you've got Hananiah saying, oh, God wants us to go and be free, and we need to fight against these people. And he was saying what was pretty and what the people wanted to hear, what is the norm. And that's how society is. Society tells you to be quiet, you don't need to talk about that. Oh, it's okay, or man up, or you're tougher than that, or keep quiet. You don't want to break up your family, you don't want to do all of these things. Oh my gosh, keep quiet about those things. That's embarrassing. Nobody talks about those things. No, stop. Don't be Hananiah, be Jeremiah. Speak the truth, set people free and set yourself free. Disclose and expose so freedom and liberty and growth and change can come. Some people can't move forward from their addictions, from their mental health struggles, from their depression because they're keeping the silence. They're holding on to secrets. But the silence need to end with us. The secret stops here. So even if you don't want to go on a platform and speak like I'm speaking, go and get therapy and start to speak to a therapist in confidence. Break the silence and set yourself free. Maybe some of you are under medication for chronic diseases. Do you know a lot of chronic diseases is linked to emotional and mental pain that people have not been able to speak about? Some people go to therapy and then they end up realizing, oh, I don't need those medication anymore. The pain's gone in my back, the pain's gone in my legs. I'm sharing a lot because I believe people, you really need to hear this and you really need to get help. And I pray that someone will go and speak up and that the healing will start with truth. Many people are living a lie in deception. I'm all about transparent, about if someone comes and says, I've been through this, I was like, okay, does it need to be exposed? Is it a safeguarding for that person? Is it a safeguarding for a child? Is it emotional bondage? What is it? And then looking at the whole overall picture, like, hang on here. If you're going to be living in this lie, it's going to affect you in all these different areas. If you need the help, get the accurate help. Yeah. There's a scripture that says, for there is nothing hidden that would not be disclosed and nothing concealed that would not be known or brought into the open. Let that sink in. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out in the open. That's taken from Luke 8:17. A lot of people like myself like quotes and also scriptures. I like scriptures and quotes because it says a lot and it rounds up and it summarizes something. But there's nothing hidden that will not be disclosed and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought into the open. Some things will be exposed in the wrong way because some people didn't want to speak up and then it gets exposed later on. Speak up if you can help for yourself or somebody else. Don't wait for it to be exposed in such a traumatic, hurtful way. Speak up now. Take control. Have some order. Yeah, if you can speak up now with support around you, it's much better. Guys, I think talking about all this abuse that I've been through and the trauma and what you guys may have been through as well, I want to say thank you for tuning into the OMEL podcast because you're with Mel, and I hope that you're well. And I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay strong. And I want you to stay singing your song, whatever that sounds like. Even if your voice shakes, sing it, baby. And hey, if this episode has touched you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. I don't know what platform it is, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Spotify, whether it's podcasts on the Apple phone or different podcast platforms that's out there. Like, subscribe, and share. Send me an email. Let's have a discussion. If there's any things that you want me to cover or talk about, if you know me personally and you say, why don't you share this? This will be helpful for the listeners. Get in contact with me. And depending on whatever platform you are, like, subscribe, and share. Sharing is caring, and you might be one who helps someone else start their journey of healing. The goal that I have is to reach hearts I may never get to meet all across the world. So keep sharing and keep healing and keep breaking those cycles. Because together, we're not just telling stories, we're changing lives. These things that I'm sharing is not just telling stories, it's real life, lived experience. Some people pay for lived experiences, spokespeople like me to go and speak, but I'm doing it on this podcast to help people across the world that I may never get to meet personally. I want to reach the masses. I want to reach the one, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 100,000s, the millions, the trillions, the billions, whatever comes next, I don't know. But I want this to reach people that I may never get to meet or encounter on a day-to-day basis. Because together we're not just telling stories, remember, we're changing lives. So I want to say you're with Mel at the OML podcast, and it's been amazing listening to myself talk, because I've had so much reminders and so much breakthrough moments that I can recall. But stay tuned, guys, and I'll catch up with you soon. Stay safe. God bless you.